today we're going to talk about the jungle in Pokemon Unite and how you can be a much better jungler just by a few tips that we're going to show off in this video. In fact, one of the cool things that you can do once you learn the jungle is you can take down Dreadnought really quickly. Just like this. So you go pop up, and then pop up, and then you just melt this poor thing into oblivion. And then it'll really help snowball your games, okay? So let's get started. Now, typically I go straight into gameplay, but I feel like for this topic, we want to understand why we're doing what we're doing. So who do we pick? Who should go to the jungle? A character that's good for the jungle typically is a character that gets a really strong late game. The reason why is because they tend to be over leveled compared to everybody else on the team, meaning that they get to benefit from some of the late game power more than the other characters do. So there's a lot of different characters that you can pick for the jungle. The speedsters typically got the jungle crown before, but there's also really good characters such as Cinderace, Greninja. You're always seeing Greninjas in the jungle. Another character or type of character that people like to put in the jungle are characters that don't do well early game, but again, do really well late game. So sometimes people put a Garchomp or a Gardevoir in there. If you're completely lost and you have no idea, one easy way to get a good idea as to who you could throw in there is if you click a Pokemon and then you go to progression, the main thing you want to look for is look at their moves and then see if they get a big power spike at level 5 and at level 7. Reason why that matters is because before the first Dreadnought, you're going to rotate or have the ability to rotate through your jungle twice. And the first time you rotate through, you're level 5. The second time you rotate through, you're level 7. And then take that and compound it with if it's a character that's really good in the end game, okay? So let me try to explain that here in an actual match so you can see what that looks like. So we're in a CPU match here, and this is never what you want to have for your team comp. You never want to have 3 speedsters on your team because they would all typically be trying to compete for the jungle. So thanks, video game. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick Talonflame because Talonflame is a great example of all the things I just talked about when it comes to jungling. She has a really good power spike at level 5 and a level 7. And then also they maneuver the battlefield very well because of some of their passives that they have. So let me just go straight from the beginning here so you can get hands-on what do I do from second one to all the way to the end. So first off, you come through, do not touch these monkeys. They are not yours. They are for your teammates, okay? You don't want them to touch your jungle. Don't touch their monkeys. Now, something you can do is you can pick an ability on some of these characters that lets you hop over this edge right here. You can either use eject button to hop right over, or you could use something like acrobatics here and go boop, 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 boop. And then the Lillipup here is always going to go towards the Ludicolo. Now, typically you start a lot faster, but we're in a CPU match, so that's okay. The Lillipup is always going to follow the Ludicolo, and the reason why that matters is that Ludicolo here provides a bonus if you take him down, and that bonus is that you do more damage to enemy Pokemon when they're at low health. Now, both Ludicolo and Bouffalant here have a charge attack like that, or they project a little bit to show you where they're going to attack, so you can dodge that just by getting out of the way. Now, with Bouffalant here, since I just got Ludicolo's buff, he's going to take more damage when he's at low health. Now, another item I have on right now is the Fluffy Tail, which allows me to do more damage per hit. So I can just clear these guys a little bit faster. Fluffy Tail, I think, matters a lot more on Dreadnought than it does on these initial dudes here. But the nice part about it is per hit that you do, you will get increased. Ooh, look at that. I already got level 5. Typically, you got to clear all 4 of these guys to get level 5, but we are a little slow, so some of the audio EXP kicked in. But, like I said, level 5, we get a power upgrade here. Now, typically, you'll clear all 4 of these dudes, and then at that point, you want to go, well, where should I go? Should I go top lane or should I go bottom lane to help out my team? Now, the way I think about this is I try to pay attention to who's in lane. Now, I'd already be going up there to help them, but I just kind of want to explain things here. I would be looking at the top lane, and I'd be looking at the bottom lane to see what we got. Now, where I like to go is I like to go to an area where I see somebody who's being a little bit greedy, who's got lower health and lower defense, so you can pop on them and then jump on them, and then make it so that they can get taken out before they get back to their spawn. Typically, you want to go for the weaker characters that are being a little greedy. So like bottom lane, you don't want to go to bottom lane because Lucario is really strong early game, on top of the fact that this Eldegoss could be healing them. If this was a regular match, you would not be getting anywhere on this lane. You want to focus characters that are easy to take down quickly, because you want to take them out and then leave and then go back to recycle to your jungle. So I'm going to restart the game here so you can see a little bit more of what that would look like in real time. So now let's see what this looks like in a little bit more real time, and I'll give you some extra tips here while we're going through this. So I'm going through this real quick, and I'm just charging straight to the little pup. The little pup is going to tell me where I need to go to get to Ludicolo. You always want to get Ludicolo first. It's kind of like this whole thing's purpose is to make it so that you can get Ludicolo, and it tells you exactly where he is. But you get level 3 off your little pup there, and then I can just start working this guy real fast. And the idea here is that we're going to get level 5 after we clear this side. The reason why it's important that nobody in the lane takes out any of these 4 Pokemon is because you don't reach level 5 then. And the whole point to picking some of these characters is that you get that level 5 spike. Now, something we should mention here is that after you take out Ludicolo, he takes 1 minute to respawn. After you take out Bouffalant, he takes 1 minute to respawn. They initially spawn at the, 9:45 mark? But keep in mind, 1 minute to respawn. So if you go ahead and take him out at like 9:35, you should start paying attention to your clock to know when you should come back to cycle in again and take them out again. Now, the buffs that you get from them last 70 seconds. See, we just got level 5 off that rotation. And now I see over here, I see a guy, a Bulbasaur that's making mistakes. So we're going to go ahead and try to take advantage of that because he's being greedy. He's diving. You don't want to do that. And then I just go ahead and take him out. And then ta-da. And another thing you should be looking out for now is the enemy team will have their jungler running around too. And you can see the Absol in the bottom lane. You got to be staring at the minimap a lot when you play jungler. Now, you see it's about 8:30. I should be heading back to my area in the middle here so I can keep up on my jungling, keep cycling that very, very quickly. And ta-da. Now, you might be thinking, well, what about those Pokemon in the center you were just hitting? Shouldn't you take all of them out? Make it so the enemy jungler can't take them? I get mixed feelings about those. My opinion is that it kind of matters based on what your team is doing and what they think and how they're working together. But I don't always take those Pokemon out because sometimes those provide those supplemental Pokemon to help your laners get just that little bit of extra EXP that they need for the first Dreadnought, because the first Dreadnought is going to spawn in 7 minutes. So around 7:30-ish, maybe a little bit before that, you want to start rotating down. And now I'm going to get level 7 here because, again, it takes 2 rotations to reach level 7. And now I just got a huge power boost again. That's why I was talking about the 5s and the 7s, because you get 2 big boosts at 5 and 7, which do a lot for your ganking abilities here. Now, these guys just did a great job, apparently. So there's not a whole lot for me to take a look at in here. So I'm just going to score, and I'm going to make my way down south. Now, something I could do is I could try to grab some of these guys real quick on my way down to make it so that I can reach level 8. And sure enough, I'm level 8, which is cool. Now, I could try to fight this guy, I guess, if he really wants to get into a fight and make it so we take him out here. But now I got Fly, which means I can do this and then hit 2 of them. And then just smack on him. And the big thing is you want to get a level advantage. Now, I got this huge level advantage on Lucario, which is a big deal. Now, this is a CPU match, so I don't know if they're actually going to care about anything. By the way, berries take 40 seconds to respawn, in case you were wondering. But I'm going to see if I can do anything to old Dreadnought here. I'm going to dodge his attack. I'm going to use Fluffy Tail. I'm going to start smacking him. Now, typically, the Fluffy Tail is best used when everyone's working together. But this is a CPU match, and I don't think they even know what an objective is. So I'm just going to try to take this guy as quickly as I can. With Dreadnought here, you want to see if you can get that last hit snipe so nobody else takes it. But again, CPU match, nobody really seems to care. And you want to make sure that you get the first Dreadnought, because the first Dreadnought allows you to steamroll. You see how I just got my ultimate skill, and potentially other people on my team just reached power spike levels, like they might have got their ultimate, they might have got level 7, etc., etc. And then that allows us to go ahead and just start blomping on people. But don't get too caught up in a team fight. There's this thing that I would argue is a really big deal in MOBAs, and that thing is that sometimes it's better to do the wrong thing together than the right thing by yourself. If that makes sense. If your whole team is deathballing, it might make sense to stick with them rather than just going straight back to the jungle to keep up on your Ludicolos and your Bouffalants. Because even though you do need to keep farming EXP constantly, if your team is losing a team fight in a 5 versus 4 because you're off on the other side of the map getting EXP, well, then you're probably hurting your team more than you're helping it. Does that make sense? Do the wrong thing together rather than the right thing by yourself. Now, this is all going to depend match to match. If your team is backing off and trying to get EXP and they're playing a little bit more passively, well, then make sure you're keeping up on your experience, because the more over-leveled you are, the more power you have. Like, this guy over here is just going to die because we got a huge level advantage on him, and it's not a whole lot he can do when we got 2 levels on him, and we're about to have 3. And, I mean, really, that's the main thing with the jungle, is pay attention to your timings. One other pro tip with the jungle, though, is if you're paying attention to your timings, like, you know, 1 minute after, then this guy respawns, right? Well, if their jungler is also paying attention, chances are that their guys are going to respawn right around that 1 minute mark, too. See how this Booflint was filled up as soon as we plopped on over right around when ours spawned in? So that we can come in here and try to steal this one, cause a lot of mayhem over here, and take their stuff sometimes, too. Or your teammates can take their stuff if they're paying attention to how jungler timings work. Now, again, your buffs last 70 seconds, so those can be a rough idea to pay attention to when you got to go back to your area of the map to keep jungling. Again, they respawn after 60 seconds, your buffs wear out after 70, so they're kind of synced up with each other, but the best bet is to pay attention to your clock on the top of the map. Another reason why you want to pay attention to your clock rather than your buffs is because if you do die, you lose your buffs. Whoever takes you out steals your Ludicolo and steals your Booflint. So you can't just purely rely on those just in case something goes wrong, okay? And that's really all there is to the jungle. Is just keep rotating to where you gotta rotate, pay attention to your objectives. Now, it's a CPU match, so I haven't really been like, oh, go to Dread now, go to Rotom, all that type of stuff. But just keep up on your EXP and pay attention to your timings. If you need to pick a character, pick one that does really well late game, or pick ones that get a really good power spike at level 5 and level 7. Other things to keep in mind is, even though you're supposed to keep jungling and keep being over leveled compared to everybody else, if there's somebody who's really lagging behind on your team and you got like 3 levels on your teammate, it might make sense to let them take Ludicolo for them to catch up. Now, in this sense, I don't know, they're doing just fine, and they should go farm their Audinos. But sometimes, like, let's say you got a Gardevoir or a Garchomp who's really fallen behind and they really need help to keep up with the rest of everybody else. You know, maybe it makes sense to let them have a little bit of the jungle just so they can stay with your team and keep contributing to the team at a higher level. Because I'm already level 12 here, and even though I'd like to be like 13 or 14 at this point as the jungler, if somebody's really struggling, it might make sense to help them out. And on that note, if you are the jungler, early game, don't be stealing stuff from your laners either, because they also need to level up. Unless that's part of your whole team strategy is to have your jungler just ridiculously over leveled, don't steal wild Pokemon and last hit Pokemon from the lane, because your teammates also need to be leveled up in order to make it so you're all stronger at the end of the game in these big team fights that happen. All right? You have a lot of responsibility as the jungler to pay attention to your timing and to make it so everybody else is doing well. But with great responsibility comes great power. Die! One other huge thing I almost forgot to mention. I was editing and I was like, oh my god, why didn't I say this? If you're a jungler, you have a lot of responsibility to make sure that you don't die. Reason being is that you tend to be over leveled. If you are 2 or 3 levels ahead of the enemy team, if they take you out, that's going to provide them with a huge amount of comeback EXP. Make sure that if you are the jungler, you pick your battles wisely. This is, in my opinion, why Absol can be a little tough to use as a jungler, because they're very squishy. If they mess up at all, they don't have a whole lot of things that help them get out of that problem. So you need to be very careful when you're a jungler not to feed the enemy team with all that EXP that you had been farming off of your wild Pokemon. Now, we're going to talk about some advanced things here, which are kind of cool. But before we do that, reminder, we have a whole new channel, Pokemon Unite Guides. I'll have a link in the description for that, and it'll also be the top comment. That whole channel is just Pokemon Unite stuff. Advanced guides, advanced gameplay, things you didn't know about the game that you wouldn't have known unless you watched the video. And SwingPoynt's going to have some of those videos, but Pokemon Unite Guides is going to have more of them. It's going to have exclusive videos, and it's only going to be Pokemon Unite. Where with SwingPoynt, I upload other things as well. Okay? So with that, let's go ahead, get started with the rest of the video. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the fluffy tail, because we just touched on it. And I'm going to show you that with Blastoise, because Blastoise in particular is kind of broken with it right now. Now, let's go up to level 15 here so you can see what I'm talking about, and I'm going to try to explain exactly how this fluffy tail works. Now, the way fluffy tail works is for each hit that you do, it provides bonus damage to the Pokemon that's affected by it. It works on wild Pokemon. It will stop them in their tracks with what they're doing. And then you do bonus damage to them as long as that icon's on their head. I'm not sure if your whole team does bonus damage. I believe it does. And I'm not sure if the enemy team will do bonus damage. That's something I'd really like to hear from you guys. Now, I'm going to hit Ludicolo here, and you're going to see that the main damage that I do is going to be 254. You see that? There's that 45 that pops in. That's the muscle band, but it's the 254. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let him walk away, and I'm going to use Fluffy Tail. And you'll see an additional number pop up that's somewhere in like the 500s because it scales off your basic attack power. So like Talonflame does way more damage with this thing than Blastoise does because they have a higher attack power. But Blastoise can do something that's way more wicked than Talonflame ever will. So I'm going to go ahead and use Fluffy Tail now. And you'll see another big number pops up, that 574. That's because of the Fluffy Tail. And the way that works is every time a hit happens, the Fluffy Tail will trigger. Now, this varies Pokemon to Pokemon. Like, close combat on Machamp doesn't work as well as I thought it would. But for some reason, with Blastoise here, he does a lot of different things that make that Fluffy Tail trigger. So I'm going to show you two different Audinos here. So here's one Audino. I'm just going to rapid spin on him, right? And I'm doing an okay amount of damage. And now this works with your skills too, I guess I should have mentioned. But now I'm going to go over to the Audino down here, and I'm going to use rapid spin with Fluffy Tail on. So start rapid spinning and then use this. And you see how I just start chunking damage off of him? Now this will affect multiple skills at a time. So let's keep up on this Audino train here. We have an Audino being hit by Water Spout. And now over here, we'll have an Audino being hit by Water Spout. And then we'll use Fluffy Tail on him. So Water Spout and then Fluffy Tail. And you see how it chunks up with the skill? Now, with Blastoise in particular, you can run Rapid Spin, and you can Water Spout, and you can Basic Attack. So there's a bunch of different things you're doing all at the same time that are triggering Fluffy Tail to do its thing. Now, Rapid Spin's not every single tick. It's like every other tick you might have noticed, which is why with some characters like Machamp, it doesn't work through the whole close combat. But with Blastoise in particular, since he's chaining so many skills together, Fluffy Tail does stupid things. So I can go up to this Dreadnought here, start this, and then just start going disgusting damage on this poor thing and take it out through one rotation. The point being is that Fluffy Tail is ridiculously broken on Blastoise because he can chain so many things together. And Fluffy Tail works per attack. So if you have somebody on your team who's using a Fluffy Tail, that is when you go out and you just hit him with everything you got, because that's how Fluffy Tail procs. It's per hit. So use all the different skills you have all at the same time when you see your teammate use Fluffy Tail, because that's how you're going to get the most use out of it. Okay? And I feel like that deserves a spot in the jungle video because typically a jungler would be carrying this, or I see a lot of Blissies carry it too because they have Helping Hand, and then the whole idea is if Blissey's here, everybody's doing better. So Fluffy Tail can do a lot of cool things for objectives, and this whole game is an objective game, so keep that in mind. If you want to play this game with me, we do viewer games every single night on twitch.tv/SwingPoynt. I'll have the link in the description for that. Also, if you're not watching already over on the Pokemon Unite channel, we have a whole new channel dedicated to Pokemon Unite. We started that like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and it's been doing great. You guys have been awesome over there, so thank you so much for subscribing over to that. That channel is only Pokemon Unite content. Here on SwingPoynt, I'm going to upload other things. I'm going to do other things. But on Pokemon Unite guides, it's only Pokemon Unite content. So go check that out if you like this game, and I'd love to have you guys over there. And with that, thank you so much for being here. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you in the next video that we do around here.